Hey everyone, it's your good friend Eric Thompson. In this video, I'm going to help you with a question that I know you get from clients, and that question is, are prices going to crash? Are we having another real estate bubble? Are prices going to come tumbling down like the second after I close on this property? I'm going to help you with that. Okay, so if you are new to the channel, a big warm welcome to you. Please, if you're getting value from this, go ahead and subscribe so that you can be sure to get more helpful videos just like this one. Also, if you're getting value, give it a like, hit that thumbs up. That would be super helpful to me, and now I want to help you. So the deal is this. The deal is you were getting asked by your clients about prices. And what they're asking you, are prices going to crash? Are we in another bubble? They're watching what prices have been doing the last several months. They're thinking back to what happened in 2008, 2009, 2010. They're nervous, they're worried. The last thing they would ever want to do is buy right before any kind of a market crash, right? That's what's going on in their mind. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 keys for you to understand really clearly so that you can clearly explain these 3 things to your clients so they feel way better, so they feel way more confident about moving forward with a really, really good decision when it comes to buying real estate. And you and I know it's a great decision. You and I know about all the wonderful things that owning real estate can do for someone, but we need to help these people get over these fears with these 3 keys. Here is key number 1 for you to understand and for your clients to understand. The key is this. Stock markets crash, real estate markets cycle. All right, so when the word crash gets used with the housing market, with real estate, that's not appropriate. All right, the word crash is appropriate at times with the stock market, but not the real estate market. So real estate markets cycle, stock markets crash. All right, so again, stock markets crash, real estate markets cycle. So if you were to look at housing prices overall in the country or housing prices in your market, if we put them on a chart, like a bar chart, what we're going to see is like prices cycling, right? So sometimes they go way up, sometimes they go up a little bit, sometimes even maybe they dip down slightly. But what you notice with real estate is just like a nice long-term cycle. What you notice with stock markets is from time to time, there are big crashes, right? There's like these big spikes. So if you put a stock market on a graph, what you see are these really jagged lines, right? Big swings, way up, way down from day to day. You don't see that with real estate. So stock markets crash, real estate markets cycle. All right, so that is key number 1. If you were to look at Wikipedia, and I actually did this, and I went to Wikipedia and I looked up crash as it relates to an economy, or, any kind of a market crashing, they use words like panic. They use words like widespread. They use words like sudden. So let me ask you this. Have we ever suddenly seen, like in a day, real estate markets come tumbling down? Have we ever seen in the course of a couple days, like a whole block in a neighborhood, like all at once, there are for sale signs just lined up and down the sidewalk, right? Lined up and down the street. Have we seen in real estate panic selling? Have we seen homeowners say, oh my gosh, I'm panicked. I need to sell my house right away because I am panicked? We don't see that, but we do see that in the stock market. There is sudden change. There is widespread change where it can be across the whole market, and there can be panic associated. So again, that's key number 1. Real estate markets cycle, stock markets crash. Okay, number 2, key point to make with your clients is this. This market that we are experiencing right now, and I'm making this video in the summer of 2021, it's different than what was happening back pre-last bubble. So last bubble was 2005, 2006, even 2007. What we have now in today's market is way different than before. This is really important for your clients to understand, because what they're saying to themselves is, gosh, the last thing I ever want to do is make a bad decision, and I don't want to get caught in a market like we saw back in 2008, 9, and 10. Well, let's look at how the market today is different than when it was then. The first thing that's very different is credit and the credit worthiness of home buyers. So what we know about the last bubble was that, quite simply, there were a lot of people buying homes that shouldn't have been buying homes. There were people getting loans that should not have been getting loans, versus today, credit worthiness is much higher because loan requirements are much more strict, right? So loan requirements are much, much higher today. So the average credit score today, the average FICO credit score for a conventional loan user, for a conventional loan home purchaser is 758. So by definition, that score is considered to be, quote, very good, all right? So that's a very good score on average that people have today versus 2005, it was just below 700. So we've gone from an average score of just below 700 to now 758. So today, credit scores are much higher for home buyers. A second key point here related to how things are different is the number of adjustable rate mortgages that homeowners are taking advantage of or using. So back then, 2005, around 30% of all people who were purchasing loans were getting an adjustable rate mortgage, where today that number is closer to 3%. So we've gone from around 30% to around 3%. And what we know about an adjustable rate mortgage is the rates adjust. And when the rates adjust, the payment adjusts. And it can be then very easily that the homeowner can't afford the payment anymore because their payment has gone up. And that's why people had to walk away from their mortgage, had to walk away from their loans. So that is another really key point on how things are different today versus before. Another key point in how they're different today versus before is the supply. So one thing that caused the meltdown, that caused the housing market to change back in 2008, 9, 10, was because of the oversupply in the market, right? So there was a glut of supply in the market in a lot of markets. And a lot of that was caused by an oversupply of new construction. You could argue there was overbuilding of new construction. There was more supply there than there was demand. Did you know today we are starting about 2/3 of the number of new homes today versus we were back then in 2005, yet the population is much, much higher. So we're actually starting fewer new homes than we were back in 2005, yet the population is much higher. As we all know about real estate today, we have the opposite of a glut of supply on the market. We have the opposite of that. We are very undersupplied. So it's that undersupply that's protecting us from anything like a big change in real estate prices, because this always comes down to, quite simply, supply and demand, right? So it's all about supply and demand. If there's not enough demand, if there's way too much supply, that's what causes a big change in real estate prices. Well, we don't have that at all on the supply side. We are undersupplied. Okay, so that's point number two. Point number three, guys, point number three is to get the client to think about their time frame, all right? So we want them to consider the length of time that they're gonna own this home, because what's happening is that they're very worked up, they're very caught up in what's gonna happen over the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 9 months, the next year with housing prices. And while that is important, what's more important is to look at what's gonna happen over the total duration of the time that they're gonna own that home. So what I would encourage you to ask the client is this: hey, just curious, how long do you see yourself owning this home? And you may have to help them out. You may even have to help them by saying, for instance, the average homeowner today is in their home for 10 years. So do you see yourself around that? Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Let's look at that first. How long, out of curiosity, do you see yourself owning this home? And then base the whole rest of the discussion on that. All right, we're not going to get worked up in and caught up in what's going to go on over the next few months. While that's important, what's much more important is to consider for how long are they going to own this property. So let's say they say 10 years. So let's say they agree to, yeah, we could see ourselves in this home around 10 years. Of course, you never know, things could happen, but probably around 10 years. So then what you can then do is look at, okay, let's look at and let's consider the long-term performance of our market. Let's go back and look at what we've seen over the last several decades in this market. Let's go back and look at just over the long term, like even over the last 10 years, what the market has done in the 10 years before that. And let's see if we can draw some conclusions as to where we think the market is gonna be 10 years from now. And you can even turn this into a question. Just say, hey, just out of curiosity, 10 years from now, where do you see the market today? Where do you see prices going 10 years from now? Where do you see appreciation being 10 years from now? And you may even have to agree, and I think it would be smart to agree to say, hey, we don't think that prices are going to keep going at their current pace for another 10 years in a row. That's probably not realistic, but what do we see? What do you think? Do you see just more moderate growth, maybe getting back to being closer to the long-term average? You know, most markets appreciate around 5% per year. So could we expect that over the next 10 years? Do you think that's realistic? And think about that and consider that. And it's all about shifting up the time frame. So, and again, if you're getting value from this, please go ahead, subscribe, hit the like button. Bottom line is this: they are worried, right? They're worried, they're scared. They don't want to make a dumb decision. No one wants to make a dumb, poor decision because they're worried about how that's going to make them feel. They're worried about how other people may perceive that. People don't like to live with what feels like a really bad decision. So we have to walk them through these 3 key points to help them see that, yes, this is a great decision to own real estate. All right, it's a really, really good decision, especially when you consider the time frame, especially when you consider that this market today is way different than it was before, especially when you consider that real estate markets, they don't show a history of crashing, they show a history of cycling. And let's look at those long-term cycles that we've seen in our market, and then let's remind ourselves of why you want to own this property in the first place, all right? So guys, I hope that this was helpful to you. It sure is fun to make these videos, and I so appreciate your engagement. Again, if you got value, subscribe. If you got value, hit the like button. I can't wait to see you in the next video. In the meantime, have an awesome day.